Episode 2, Unexpected Conversation with a Taxi Driver, Champaign, Illinois. As I was saying about the air, 'cause you and I can't do nothing about them crazy pioneer people. There's always stuff in their air roaming around, he continued. But people are just getting crazy about it all. There's this crazy stuff about smoking 'cause it wrecks the atmosphere. And then there's the not smoking in your car. Now that's just crazy. They say it distracts you when uses driving. Smoking, that is. It's going to be some law now. What do they think them police officers is going to be doing? They's going to get neck injuries trying to look into people's cars and seeing whether they smoking or not. I mean, goodness me, that's just ridiculous. You got people's eating in the cars, women putting on makeup in there, and people talking on them cell phones, and now we got to go after the smokers. He seemed to pause there for a minute, catching his breath. As he exhaled, a blast of moisture reached the windshield and temporarily fogged his vision. Quickly he reached over and turned the defroster on and off. The morning light was rising, showing a grey sky with low-lying fog around us as we clipped along the highway. "Are you a smoker then?" I asked. "Me? Heck no, that's a darn fool habit, that is. That's the kind of thing to do 'cause you don't know any betters, or the kind of thing you do as a kid to be a bigger kid than you are at the time. No, that's a habit bad as getting hooked on a woman who don't mean you no good. I had me a bad woman once. Wooey, that was fun for a while. But she damn near broke my heart, and she for sure broke my wallet. She was a bad un, she was." "Yes, ma'am," he drawled. "That kind of habit's about as bad, and about as addicting as smoking them death sticks. But see here, that's not my point. People ought to be allowed to be making their own decisions. I mean, was this whole thing about someone telling someone else what they can do? That there's communism, that is?" Briefly he turned his head and looked back at me, making eye contact to reinforce his point. "What's a fella to do in a bar, for instance? I mean, he's sitting there having a beer, and what's he going to do but want to be smoking? What's he supposed to do? Get up and go out there all alone when he wants to be socialising after a long day?" He shook his head again. "It's a bad problem for sure," I said somewhat loudly, raising my voice above the bumping sound of the tyres crossing ridges on the road. "That's for sure. Ain't it up to the fella to decide what's he want to do? It's up to him to decide if he wants to rot out his lungs. Not anyone else's darn business. It does affect the people around the person, though. You've got to admit there's been lots of information on that. The other people sitting in the bar having a drink don't want the smoke on them, right?" I said, wondering how such liberal sentiments would go over. "Well, heck sure. Then people don't want no smoke. I don't want no smog in the sky, but no one's making the factory stop ruining the air. Those businesses just keep on running, yet them people working a hard day gots to put their smokes away. And after all, if them non-smokers don't want to be round the smoke, what the heck are they doing in a bar? That's what a bar's for, but winding down after working all day, isn't it?" The driver shook his head from side to side, then reached his left hand back and ran it up and down the grey stubble on his neck standing out above his collar. "I mean," he continued, "it's one thing to be protecting little chillins' bodies from foul vapours, and another thing altogether to be coming in on someone's leisure time. And now we got to be coming in on 'em in their car. I mean their car of all places, and them poor officers who ought to be out there stopping crime is going to be out there on the highway pulling people over for smoking and talking and whatnot in the car. It's darn humiliating. I wouldn't want to be a cop these days. Though they go working all hard and alls to pass some course on law enforcement, and running like a heart attack around some track to be all fit and alls, and they get stuck out on some road busting some poor dude smoking. I suppose the other people who are in the bar and not smoking want to be there because they like drinking. There are probably more people even wanting to drink, do you think, than wanting to smoke?" I suggested somewhat meekly. "Oh yeah, sure, there's people in there wanting to drink. But drinking and smoking goes together like peas and carrots. It's all part of the same social thing. It's also what you calls an icebreaker." His tone was now somewhat paternal, patiently educating me on the realities of bar life.